So before any of you say that the IRS has entered the chat, remember all of the things mentioned in this video have a clear reason behind how they helped you make money as an artist. One of the most important things about pursuing an art career, especially a freelance one, is to know that a lot of the things you might already be spending money on can be used as a tax write-off to help you save some money for when tax season comes around. And just as a disclaimer, I'm not a professional when it comes to taxes. I'm probably still as confused and learning about certain parts of this just as much as some of you are, so forgive me if I don't have all of my ducks in a row. So in this video though, most of what I talk about will mainly focus on tax write-offs for people who use 1099. So if you use things like Etsy, Shopify, Patreon, YouTube, AdSense, etc., you most likely receive 1099s if you surpass their respective payment thresholds, which could range between either $600 or $20,000. I still don't even really know this one myself. So tax write-offs are things that you can use to help lessen the damage done that would have been done on your bank account when it comes to reporting any income you made through 1099s. So when you get a W-2 at a full-time job, usually you get the option to withhold your taxes so that when tax season comes along, you don't have to do as much work on your end. But on a 1099, you don't get the option to withhold your taxes, so it's on you to report them. So technically, whatever money you make from your 1099 is not really the actual money you get to keep. So make sure to not deplete yourself of the funds you get from them the moment you get your paycheck. While I personally am still working on making a habit out of this, the best way to track your business expenses is to honestly have a credit card solely used for your business, or if you have a place to write down what expenses you paid for what job, do it as soon as it happens because you will totally forget you ever paid for it come tax season. So the more items you have on your tax write-off, the more you can potentially save money from having to pay more taxes because you kind of already had to pay out of your pocket in order to do this thing to help you produce money. So try to not throw random irrelevant items for the heck of saving money unless you do want the IRS to enter the chat. So anyway, let's get a move on with some of the tax write-offs that you can potentially use. So the first one is a percentage of your rent or mortgage. So note that you can't use your entire years of rent or mortgage payments because if you work from home, you have to kind of be living in your house outside of just working. So for me, I would usually say 50 to 60% of the time in my home, I use it for work. So you can also include things like your utility bills, and if you have a home, then property taxes and property interest that you paid. Next, I will say art supplies, office supplies. So if you've been contemplating getting a new desk, chair, or computer for your office space, I'm gonna just enable you to do so because did you know that you can use an office desk as a tax write-off?
What?
Yeah, so this L-shaped standing desk gifted to us from our sponsor of today's video, Flexispot, thank you, offers more space than a regular table, which gives you room for multiple devices and office decoration. I also like that the desk is black so that it adds some contrast to my room, unlike my other white desks. With the height adjustable panel, you can not only stably raise and lower your desk with quiet dual motors.
It goes really low. Cool.
But you can also save presets for your favorite heights and charge your devices on it. Apparently, you can even set an alarm with this A button to remind you when to sit up and sit down. The desk can support a weight of up to 177 pounds, and in case if there's something below or above your desk, there's an anti-desk collision function to avoid destroying things in your room.
Wow.
So if you need a desk for your office or for your art business, check out the link down below, and thank you again to Flexispot for supporting this channel. So usually if you work in an office, the company provides you the furniture and office supplies, but if you work from home, this is something you have to supply yourself. This also includes sketchbooks, any art tools you use to create your art, and then that art helped you monetize. So audio subscriptions. If you listen to music that inspires your art or even use it as reference for a storyboard sequence or comic, that can also be used as a tax write-off. But did you also know that podcasts can be used too? Because not that it would matter anyway, because regardless, your audio subscription would cover both music and podcasts. But if you listen to a podcast that gave you valuable advice and you applied it to your work or referenced the podcast in a video or reel that helped you make money, that's a tax write-off too. So moving on is movies and films. This is a big one for animators, story artists, but movies or films can be used to reference or even even as inspiration for your work. I already know some people are gonna be like, oh, come on, that one's gonna be so easy for people to abuse, which yes, I'm not gonna deny that there are people out there that probably try to cheat the system, but also let me tell you this story. So for one of my jobs, we were required to watch a film as a task for our jobs and come back together with what we took away from it, what shots we liked, what inspired our storyboard sequences for the show. But not everyone had access to this movie. The company did not provide it to us, and it was on us to figure out how to go see this movie, which was pretty old. So I ended up having to purchase a streaming subscription just to watch this movie for a month because it was the only platform it was on at that time. And that money honestly should have came out of the company. Instead, it was on me to spend. So yes, Netflix, Apple TV, Disney Plus, Hulu, you name it, can be used as a tax write-off if it played a role in you making money. So moving on to travel. This one is kind of a given, but if you have a long commute somewhere or travel to a place that contributed to you making money as an artist, not that it could be a free trip for you, but it could be a trip that might save you a little bit come tax season. If you find yourself sitting on a long train ride and you work on a comic or something that you've been getting paid to do, that whole experience in itself was a work experience. The same goes for if you're traveling to somewhere, and even if you don't do work on the transportation itself, your destination is still where you needed to get to in order to make that bank. So yeah, that could be used as a tax write-off. Moving on to museum, events, places you go to. So luckily for artists, attending any museum, garden, park, event could easily become a tax write-off. So let's say you go to LACMA and then you head over to the Huntington Garden, you spend a night at the 626 night market, and you collect inspiration from these places, take photos and videos that you either used in a monetized video online or you used it for reference that you put in a sketchbook that you then sold on Gumroad or something, which makes these experiences ultimately play a role in your income. And before people come at me, no, I'm not saying to take advantage of every single moment your foot steps out the door, but any places that you do go to that you intentionally know that you're there to help with that cha-ching, that's when it can be used as a tax write-off. So then, lastly, meeting up with colleagues and coworkers, because we end up becoming friends with some of them. So same with the previous one, if you have an experience with going out for a meal or grabbing drinks with a coworker or colleague to talk shop, discuss strategies for your career and businesses, that's a tax write-off too. Just try to not go too ham with ordering foods and drinks from the menu, because ordering a straight up feast may look suspicious to the IRS versus a simple straightforward meal and drink that you had to purchase to enjoy your time with your colleagues. And in this day and age where a lot of people are working independently and meeting up with peers from all over the world, these aren't covered by anyone, unlike how when you would work at a full-time job, your company would usually be the ones to cover these expenses. So anyway, the key behind a lot of these write-offs is to pay special attention to their nuances and not to think of it as a black and white scenario. A portion of your living situation can be used, some of your entertainment and purchases can be used, and certain traveling experiences, events, and dinners can be used. Just remember that it's for when you know this thing you're going to use or do will play a role in making money as an artist. So hopefully this clears some things up for artists who have been confused all this time about what to do with their taxes. I know of many professional artists that do great things, but when it comes to taxes, they're still left confused, including myself. So trust me that I'm in this with y'all, and forgive me again if everything I say in this video is not as perfect. Remember, 99% of this is entertainment and 1% of it is education. So thank you again to Flexispot for sponsoring this video once again, because if you're in need of an office supply that you can use as a tax write-off, check the link out in the description box below. And if you want to learn more about finances and an art career, check out this video over here, which you can also find in the links below.